Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus. I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today's material is called, Is the Black Brazilian Woman Still Single Because She is Black or Because She is Hypergamous? Sure, a lot of you will be curious about this conversation as it's something that we've been seeing, in the YouTube world, in the United States for a while, but how's this playing out in Brazil? So let's get right into it. So tonight, once again, the topic is influenced by something I saw online. And before I get into that video, let me introduce it by referring to two videos that I recently posted. As I will continue to say, in the crazy, nonsensical world in which we live, in order to try to make any sense of it, we must consider different points of view, even those that we would expect to disagree with. In my own political journey, I admit that for most of my life, much of the political thought I was accustomed to consuming came out of the political left. But even as I mostly consumed thought from the political left, there were times when theories from the right would creep into my consciousness. Okay. I remember a few decades back when my father was still alive. I was watching a program on television. I don't particularly remember what year it was. I was just watching a television show that I would usually watch. When my father suddenly popped up in the room, he opened my door, walked in the room, and he changed the channel on my television and told me to watch this man that was talking. I had never heard of the guy before, but if my father thought it was someone I needed to see, then, okay, I'd check it out. It was one of those TV talk shows that Americans never seem to get tired of. The guest on the program was a guy named Ken Hamblin, and he was on the show discussing his views on the United States as the greatest country on earth. This is Kenneth Hamblin. I think he's still alive. Last I saw, I think he would be about 82 years old now. Once upon a time, Hamblin had supported the views and movements of the radical political left, but as he came to see that leftists couldn't deliver on the America that it proposed, he began to move towards the right. I don't even remember much of what he said on that program, but after about 20 or so minutes, my father came back into my room and asked me what I thought of what he had said. Being a young teenager, I didn't really have a worldly experience at that time to be able to disagree with anything he said, so I responded that I agreed. Hamlin would later release a book entitled Pick a Better Country. An unassuming colored guy speaks his mind about America. So that's this book right here. I haven't, checked out any material by Kenneth Hamlin for a number of years, so I don't know what he's into these days, but I'm just referring back to that day, when I saw him on television. Now, as leftist rhetoric has been pushed on Black folks heavy since at least the 1960s and arguably before, that was pretty much my political slant. But just like my pops introduced me to Kenneth Hamblin, in the 90s, I would discover people like Larry Elders. And even though I didn't like him at the time, I couldn't deny that he was right about some of the things that he said. There were a number of other popular Black conservatives that shared Elders' views, sharing thoughts that sat in the back of the mind, particularly my mind, even though I would never argue these points publicly because I knew most Black folks were conditioned to label any Black person with conservative views as a sellout or some other derogatory term. This is what's going on in Brazil today as well. There have always been Afro-Brazilian conservatives as well, but as historian Petronio Domingues has pointed out, Brazil's Black activists, the vast majority of them being on the left, would simply ignore the Black conservatives. This is something that I spoke about in a recent video, this one right here, where this historian, Petronio Domingues, I've liked his work for a number of years. He says that there is a taboo to debate about Blacks who are part of Brazil's right wing. Okay, these are just a couple of pictures of some people who might have been considered conservative. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so this is a still from a video that a friend of mine, another African American who lives in Salvador Bahia, he sent me this interview with these two Black women conservatives. Both of them had done some research on the left, and I believe both of them were probably part of the left at one time until they got kind of disappointed with what they were seeing on the left. So their view is that the racial push for equality has been kidnapped by the left. And there's other conservative Black Brazilians that I've looked into, and a lot of them share the same view. Like the leftist movement in Brazil is consuming and exploiting the Black Brazilian movement. That's supposed to be something that advances the wishes of the Black movement. It's something else I have to get into to explore a little bit more. This is a very popular. I don't forget what field he's in. He might be in philosophy now. His name is Paulo Cruz. And this was an article he put up recently in July of 23 this year, just like a couple months ago. And he says that this is a message to the Black movements. You have been used. This is his position. It's similar to what Patricia Silva and Gesiane Freitas is similar to what they're saying. Then you actually have a guy who's actually part of the PT and the PSOL, or his history is with these two leftist political parties in Brazil. And even being part of the left, he says the left is racist because it does not want to risk losing votes. Now, where have we heard that argument before? I'm sure you can relate to that. In recent videos, I presented an interview with Dominguez on this topic and followed that up with an interview with Patricia Silva, this lady here, and her co-author of a book, Gesiane Freitas. They declared that Brazil's leftist movement has Brazil's leftist movement has hijacked its Black movement, what they call the Movimento Negro, the Black movement. Okay, so this is the video where I recently, I did a review. I featured an interview with Patricia Silva, and her view in that particular interview was that the feminist movement in Brazil is racist. She criticized the movement's ideas and defends a broad debate on the racial issue with and by the Brazilian right wing. Okay. So today I feature a snippet of an interview with Gesiane Freitas, again, the lady in red here, in which she shares her views on the idea promoted by Afro-Brazilian feminists that have long argued that Black Brazilian women have difficulty getting into and securing long-term relationships that lead to marriage. They label this issue as the solidão da mulher negra, meaning the loneliness or solitude of the Black woman. Mind you, as I have covered this topic for years, I cannot completely dismiss the claim. Let me see if I can find some of these particular pieces. Okay. Like this article right here, which was entitled, "You Black Men Who Prefer White Women and We Black Women Who You Pass Over to Get to Them." Okay. Here's a guy who wrote it. I think this guy was from Rio de Janeiro. And he talked about, palmitaging exists. I'm going to talk about palmitaging a little bit more in this video in a few minutes. I've talked about it, excessively on the blog as well as on the YouTube channel. But he admits that Black men have passed over Black women for years, just the way that they treat Black women versus the way they treat white women. One day I have to go ahead and cover this whole article because it was intriguing what this guy had to say. Let's see. Then we have, look at this piece from 2016. It says, "Black women on love and color. Black men are educated to love white women." Okay. This has been a battle cry of Black Brazilian women, particularly feminists, for a number of years. There's another one that says, "The Black woman for marrying is the white woman." Then you have this piece from 2020 that says, "Loving a Black man can hurt to get ahead in life," where the lady who wrote this article was a Black Brazilian woman. And basically she was saying that she was told by the Black man that she was dating at the time, like, look, I can't marry a woman that's the same color as me. It's not worth it. I have to get a white girl at my side to get ahead in life. That's basically what he told her. He wasn't going to pull any punches, and he wasn't trying to hide behind this idea that love has no color. He flat out told her he wanted a white girl for which to advance in life, to have a family and all of that. And that was like really blatant, because most Black men that I've known in Brazil have never blatantly said they prefer white women. They'll hide again behind this idea of amor não tem cor, or love has no color. They'll never be blatant enough to say, nah, I don't deal with Black women. I only deal with white girls, right? This was a theater piece from 2018 called Lotus, and it presents the solitude of the Black woman and the struggle to secure a long-term relationship. So this has been a discussion that's been going on since at least 2011, 12, 13, somewhere in there. And Black feminists have brought this issue to the media. It made cover stories of magazines. It was debated on the new segments on different news programs on Brazil's media, just, news outlets. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else we might have here? The pushback by Black men has always been like, who are you guys calling us out for preferring white women when you guys prefer white men as well? So this is a debate that's been rising in Brazil for a number of years, understand. You could check out a bunch of articles on the Black Brazil Today blog that you punch in palmitagem or the loneliness of Black women, and you'll find just numerous articles that come up where this debate just continues to go. So this is the book by Gesiane Freitas and her partner Patricia Silva, and translated, this actually means what they don't tell you about the anti-racist movement. They're really challenging some of the theories that's coming out of Brazil's left that encapsulates the Black movement in the country, the feminist movement, and the LGBT plus movement. Okay. All I'm doing here is exploring another perspective on the reason for why Black Brazilian women seem to have more difficulty when it comes to relationships. As I've said, I've explored this topic extensively for several years. Just take a look at a few of the titles of the articles that have appeared on the BBT blog, which I just showed you. There's numerous. I just highlighted a couple. And any discussion on the topic of the loneliness of Black women will lead to a discussion about palmitagem and palmiteiros, topics that I have explored extensively as well. So palmitagem is what Black Brazilian women came up with the term to define Black Brazilian men who seem to prefer white women over Black women when it's time for long-term relationships. Palmitagem is the actual subject. This is what they've named this phenomenon of Black men passing over Black women to get the white women. And Black men who do these are labeled as palmiteiros. And as I've said in numerous other videos, the term palmito or palmiteiros, palmitagem comes out of the word palmito, which in Portuguese means hearts of palm, the crunchy white vegetable. You can buy them in jars. Okay. So they're calling people who have a preference for white skin, they call them palmiteiros. Black men push back and says, well, you Black women are palmiteiros as well. Okay. Ongoing discussion. So what I want to do now is play a short snippet of what Gesiane Freitas has to say on the topic. Check out this short segment and I'll be back with commentary. And there is no such thing as the loneliness of the Black woman. In this matter, it's good, but we've already blown this up, but you'll like the answer. It goes through a lot of things. Firstly, it's academic theory, academic women. Depending on their level of intellectuality, they don't have relationships with guys who are at a lower level. So she's a doctor in something. She won't have a relationship with a garbage man. If she wants to marry a garbage man, she marries him. She doesn't want to. If they, the feminists, complain because, as I said, those who complain a lot about this are Black feminists. If they complain about the loneliness of Black women, why the hell do they attack marriage, the institution of marriage? Either you want to get married or you don't. You have to decide. Either marriage is good or it isn't. And finally, not everyone is going to get married. Get it out of your head that everyone will get married. So what did you think of what Freitas had to say? She is, in essence, dismissing the whole idea that Black Brazilian women remain single longer than non-Black women because they are Black. Needless to say, I'm sure many Black feminists in Brazil would have a huge problem with her opinion. After all, there have been numerous articles, blog posts, theses, dissertation, YouTube videos, and even segments of television news programs on this topic. So how can Freitas make such a claim? Well, just to take a pause, just to show you what I'm talking about, if you go and just search on Google, you will, with the search term Solidão da Mulher Negra, you'll see just probably hundreds of articles on this topic. Here's one from Correio Brasiliense. You've got videos, here's probably a thesis. This is, do you know what the loneliness of Black women is? Look at it, Solidão da Mulher Negra, experiences of the Solidão da Mulher Negra, and it goes on and on. This is one of the main books on the topic right here, this book in pink. Goes on and on. Gayla Day is one of the more popular Black women, you could argue, feminist website. And, like I said, you could this is just the first page. You could go on and on with this topic. If you can read Portuguese, if you go to YouTube, punch in Solidão da Mulher Negra, and you'll find it here. You find them all over the place. Matter of fact, the video that I'm commenting on today, this is that video right here. It's called Solidão da Mulher Negra or Solidão da Mulher. I think it's basically she's saying is it the loneliness of the Black woman or the loneliness of the hypergamous woman? That's what this article is all about. Right. So Solidão da Mulher Negra, Solidão da Mulher Hipergâmica is what's the name of that article video in Portuguese. So again, you go on and you see all of these videos where the topic is this loneliness of Black women. Like, men don't want to date me because I'm Black. Okay. So the question has always been, because I've heard this argument going on with Black women and definitely in feminist circles for 10 to 15 years. But my question has always been, what do men say about this topic? And that's something that I'm going to, in future videos, I'm going to be talking more about that, because a lot of men are speaking about this. This is Paulo Cruz right here. And he's saying these things are complex, but you really can't say that they don't exist. So I want to check out this video and see what his take is on this whole thing. Anyway, let me get back into the video. Well, I will point out a few things. First, as I have already said, I won't dismiss the experiences of perhaps hundreds of thousands of Black Brazilian women who feel that men in general, but specifically Black Brazilian men, stampede over them to get to the quote unquote prized white women, right? I've said it over and over again. I mean, I was kind of stunned when I started studying this topic, because it seems like all the Black Brazilian men you find of prominence, actors, singers, rappers, musicians, people who get into law, people get into economics, the well-to-do Black men, and it's almost just generally the rule. There was a book that says, has it become the rule? Successful Black man has to have a white woman. It's a question. Where was I? It would be difficult to believe that all of these women are simply imagining things, and there was actually an Afro-Brazilian man that admitted that this was basically true. This is the article I was speaking about a few minutes ago. Palmitaging exists. I am an example. This Black man was from Rio. He reflects on growing up in Rio de Janeiro and how the culture and racial hierarchy influences the adoration of white girls. He went in depth about his experiences dating, Black girls, just part of the culture, just part of the Black male ideology growing up was saying, okay, you can have situationships with Black girls, but when you want to settle down at a long-term relationship, you got to go and get you a white girl. So he's basically assuming he's admitting that this is an ideal that a lot of Black guys in Rio have. And it's not just in Rio, just to be sure. You find Black women complaining about this all over the country. So while I can't completely dismiss what Black Brazilian women are saying, I will also point out that the opinion of Black Brazilian men on the topic has been conveniently ignored. Many Afro-Brazilian men have expressed the opinion that Black Brazilian women are just as guilty of having a white preference and standard as Black men. Many have argued that to get to a beautiful Black woman, a Black man has to have it all. He must be tall, ripped, educated, and it definitely wouldn't hurt if he had some money. Okay. I've mentioned this a few times about the meme that I saw posted on a Brazilian Facebook page some years ago. In the meme, there were photos of two Black men. On the one side was the actor Leandro Firmino, who gained fame for his portrayal of the murderous dope dealer Zé Pequeno in the 2002 international blockbuster film Cidade de Deus, or City of God in English. On the other side, everyone knows Michael B. Jordan. Under the photo, the caption read something along the lines of, Black Brazilian women only want a Black man if he looks like this, but not like that. I'll let you figure out who they desired and who they rejected. This is, in fact, what Gesiane Freitas is arguing also. It's not the fact that no Black men in Brazil don't want Black women. It's just that the men that these women can have, they don't want them. The popular YouTube channel Projeto Conselho took a similar view as Freitas. So in this thumbnail right here, Okay, the name of this, I think his name is Ricardo Tomé. Um, the name of this video is "Invisible in the Market." The dating market, black masculinity and the problem of pomitaging. So this video, the thumbnail reads, "She wants the negão, but she avoids the neguinho." Right? Several black Brazilian men reacted to a video by this particular black woman, and the caption here says, "Where are the black men?" So in her video, I think it was probably about 20 or 30 minutes long, she was complaining, about, just being passed over by black men. And this caption here says, "I'm here, beautiful." So what Projeto Conselho is saying is basically what Josiane Freitas is saying. Like, okay, you want the big, black, handsome guy who is well educated, he has money, he has his own. And if you can't get that guy, the guy who does want you, you don't want anything to do with him. So we've heard this conversation going on for a while going on in the United States. And we're seeing that some of the same discussions are going on in Brazil. So she says, this is what his opinion is looking at this whole thing. She wants the big black man, but she doesn't want the little black guy. Okay. In this particular video, this is about this woman right here, Natalia, and she was a contestant on a recent season of Big Brother Brazil, which is the top rated reality show on the top television network, Rede Global. And it was big news when in one of the episodes of that particular season, she just broke out in hysterically crying because the white guy she was interested in, he started flirting with one of the white girls on the cast, and she was complaining about how difficult it is to be black and trying to date, get recognized by the guys that they want. And a lot of people pointed out the fact, like, okay, this proves our point. Why is it that you're fawning and fainting and crying over a white guy on the show? There's black men who you could probably get with that maybe you don't want. Okay. So the whole idea. Okay. So also on the Projeto channel, as well as various posts on social networks such as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, Afro-Brazilian men shared their opinion that black women in Brazil only want what they call the preto tipo A, the tall, handsome black man that has it all. Okay. This is rapper Baku Exu do Blues, and this is popular singer Isa. Taken from this Instagram page called Afro-Estima, which means, basically having esteem in your African ancestry. The author opined that black beauty has a standard in Brazil in which the singer Isa here is the standard that black men want, while the rapper Baku Exu do Blues, this guy right here, is the type that black women want. Freitas emphasizes her point that educated black Brazilian women want a man that is on their level. And even with affirmative action policies increasing black access to university degrees, still today, the overwhelming majority of black men and women in Brazil don't have a college education. This significantly reduces the dating pool for this class of black women. Now, doesn't this all sound very familiar? The same dynamic is in fact playing out in the United States and is causing a sharp division between African American men and women, and has led to the rise of the so-called passport bros movement, which I have occasionally discussed on this channel. As more and more African American men have voiced frustrations with the perceived entitlements of African American women, many have simply checked out and decided to explore their options overseas. What's funny is that after demonizing these men for several months, some African American women are now declaring that they will become passport sisters. But the truth is that such an idea is simply not the same because the dynamics are just different. And why is that, you might ask? Well, actually, it's very simple. Many American women have taken to the idea that they can be strong, independent without the necessity of depending on a man. And in fact, many women with their advanced degrees don't actually need a man in terms of finances, but that's where the problem comes in. You see, a man with financial means won't have a problem with dating and marrying a woman who has little or nothing and works full-time at Burger King. She can even quit that job and be a full-time mother and housewife if she so chooses. On the other hand, even being a boss babe with her own money, many women still demand a man who has the same status as she. In this case, why don't the dynamics work out the same? Well, if the boss babe makes $200,000 a year and he makes 45,000, will the boss babe accept this? Will she be happy with a man making, just like about a fifth of what she makes? Will she have a problem if he works 36 or 45 hours at his 9 to 5 and then wants to come home and play his PlayStation with his boys? Will she accept him as an equal if he stays home, takes care of the house and the kids and cooks the meals? Will she respect him or will she demean him as her inferior? In most cases, I'd say no, which is the contradiction about this whole thing. And the whole thing is, okay, you're the boss babe. If you're going to be the boss babe, why is it that you have to have a guy who makes more money than you? Why do you have to have a guy that's on your level if you're the boss babe? That's the question here. American women will have a problem dating and marrying men of other countries for this very reason. I mean, what are her options? If she's going to date this man in his country, convince him to move to the US and then take care of him, is that what she's going to do? Most likely she won't, for the very reasons I just mentioned. On the other hand, if she finds a man in another country who earns six figures in his country, he most likely won't want to deal with the boss babe attitude, and with his career, money, and success, he has too many options to even need to deal with her. If a man has it going on, a lot of Brazilians I know, even though they have a great life in Brazil, many of them do want to come to the US, but a lot of them are quite happy with their lives, in Brazil. Like, what do I need to go to the United States for? I've known a number of Black American women who thought that dating and marrying a Brazilian man would be easy, but that's not always the case. In my view, the best option for an American woman who would consider marrying a Brazilian man would be to find one who has the credentials to work overseas. In Southeast Michigan, where I live, there are a number of Brazilian men who came to the U.S. through a program with General Motors. They got opportunities, working. A lot of them came over from Sao Paulo. When opportunities to work in the United States came about, they packed up their bags and came to the U.S. But most of these men came to Michigan were already married with children. Anyway, getting back to the point, is Jesiane Freitas correct in her assessment? I can't co-sign on her view 100% because I know that it's not just professional, college-educated Black Brazilian women who are complaining of being lonely. Poor women, as well as middle-class Black Brazilian women, have long complained of being passed over by Black and white men alike. So how would she explain that according to her thesis? Regardless, I believe she does bring a perspective to be considered on the topic. What do you guys think? So I'm curious. I don't. Maybe this may be a new topic for a lot of people who are not into the Brazil thing. And maybe if my channel is one of the only that, you follow that's talking about the situation in Brazil, it might be something you want to check out. Like I said, there's a number of articles I have on the blog that talk about this idea of the loneliness of Black women, this idea of palmitaging Black men and Black women accusing each other of having a preference for white people. Okay. I want to explore more about the opinion of these two, Patricia Silva and Jesiane Freitas. They've been making a lot of appearances on YouTube. And I want to explore what are some of the angles of the more conservative Blacks in Brazil, because as I've always said, regardless of what you think, what if the other side of the aisle is actually right and you're wrong? That's always the question that you have to ask yourself. So with that said, this is just a still of the video that I translated it into English: Loneliness of the Black Woman, or Loneliness of the Hypergamous Woman, featured on the Redcast YouTube channel. And this is an interview with the interview was like 3 hours and 20 minutes with Jesiane Freitas. If you understand Portuguese, you definitely should check it out. So curious to know what everybody thought about this particular piece. Definitely feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Like this video, share this video. Smash that notification bell so you'll know when I post new videos. Consider subscribing to this channel. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here and ask that you come to check out the next video that I post.